Now, if you could be anyone, who would you be? It's quite a simple question, but if you share the answer with other people, it has the power to transform your life, just like it did mine. Now, there I was, 6 months ago, setting up to deliver 2 days of leadership development programs, something I'd done 100 times before. But this time was different. This was the beginning of the biggest journey of my life. I'd worked with corporate leadership teams here in Jersey and across the world for years. But there I was, setting up to deliver the first program as my own boss. My hands were shaking. And not just because of the 7 espressos I'd had that morning already, although I'm sure they helped. Looking back, those nerves were the result of me taking the first steps to become the leadership development consultant that I'd always wanted to be. What I didn't realize is I'd got there with the help and assistance of a rather unusual and unexpected mentor. A mentor with green skin and a Scottish accent. Let's call it the Shrek principle. The leadership power that comes from having the courage to drop your guard and be who you want to be, to do what you want to do. In April last year, I had the pleasure and privilege of playing the lead role of Shrek in a local production of Shrek the Musical. There I am with the amazing Jamie Lee as Princess Fiona and the endlessly energetic James as Donkey. There I was, closing out the first act one matinee, and it hit me. No, not the rotten veg being thrown by a disgruntled audience. That missed. But the realization that in that moment, I was Shrek. I was a dreamer, wanting things to be different, feeling like I was playing a role that other people expected of me. And it's a feeling that I'd noticed in so many of my coaching clients before, and yet there I was feeling it for myself. So what had happened that was so seismic? Well, just a few moments earlier, Shrek had turned to Donkey, who'd asked him, if you could be anyone, who would you be? And then, overcoming all the reluctance that Shrek feels in that moment, he launches into possibly my favorite song in the show, Who I'd Be. I guess I'd be a hero, with sword and armor clashing, looking semi-dashing, a shield within my grip. He goes on to talk of climbing the tower, rescuing the princess, slaying the beast, bringing her to safety, removing his helmet, showing his true self, sharing love's first kiss. Something which, for the self-styled big, stupid, ugly ogre, was a little out of reach. But it's in this moment that we get a great leadership lesson. Because in this moment, Shrek takes off his armor, he lets down his guard, and he lets people in. Now, I really should mention Donkey's role in all of this, because it's through Donkey's influence in answering that question first that Shrek feels like he can take increasing levels of personal risk to share his hopes, his dreams. And then, in the face of encouragement rather than ridicule, Shrek opens up and lets us in. He shows vulnerability. Now, vulnerability in leadership is a much researched, much reported trait. In a 2022 Houghton International article, they gave us all the benefits of various studies into the use of vulnerability in leadership. They noted increases in innovation and creativity, trust, empathy, and overall team performance. But a 2023 research conducted by DDI across 14,000 organizations in 50 different countries showed that only 24% of senior leaders allow themselves to be vulnerable with their teams. 24%. So what's stopping us as leaders from giving in to our incessant donkeys and going, okay, this is who I want to be? Fear? Loss of impact, loss of influence? Being seen as silly? Maybe. When I work with leaders, I like to invite them to share something of themselves with me. And I do so by stepping into the role of donkey. I share first some of the hopes, the anxieties I have about running my own business, something about my family maybe, my hobbies, and I invite them to do the same. And when they do, there's a real moment of connection. A connection that goes far beyond any transactional conversation. We care that little bit more. But let's go back to that moment in the show. It's a moment I love because it's when the audience and Shrek find that deeper connection. The grumpy ogre is now the lovable champion. And he's just done everything he's sung about. He's climbed the tower. He's slayed the dragon. He's rescued the princess, taken her away to safety, removed his helmet and showed his true self. But he hasn't fallen in love and kissed the girl. Yet. But now as an audience, we know that's what he wants. We're with him all the way. We know that's his dream. And when it happens, spoiler alert, it does happen, there's joy and celebration. Okay, let's take ourselves away from the Shrek metaphor for a second and into the real world of businesses and boardrooms. Are we really expected to share our dreams and aspirations with each other? In my view, absolutely. Okay, there are some risks involved. A 2024 McKinsey article by Moore and colleagues showed some of the risks of showing vulnerability in leadership. They cited loss of impact, loss of influence. They showed that maybe being too open can allow over-criticism back. But the same article also showed that when used in conjunction with other key leadership traits, such as emotional intelligence or clear, tough decision-making, and when used at an appropriate time, showing vulnerability opens more doors than it closes. The same group advocate putting together a to-be list rather than a to-do list. Who do you want to be on any given day, week, month, year, wherever it might be? And that's exactly what Shrek does in the song Who I'd Be. He tells us his to-be list. So here I am, standing in front of you today, 6 months into a new job that sees me challenging and supporting organizations and individuals to be the best version of themselves. The version of themselves that they would be if they could be anyone. Is it a challenge? Yeah, it's difficult. It takes courage and vulnerability to drop the masks we've learned to wear at work. But when we do, that's when the magic happens. Brené Brown says that vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. And we see all of those things come to pass as we reach the finale of Shrek. He finds his true love. He finds belonging in a new community of fairy tale creatures, the joy of a wedding, and the courage to be himself. So, I challenge each of you here today to have your Shrek moment this week. Share with your families or your teams something about yourself maybe you've never shared before. Maybe a dream, something you'd like to achieve in your career, but you've never felt like you could share it before. Do it. Ask them, what would their who I'd be sound like? And listen as you get told all their great ideas coming back at you. You'll soon find it's contagious, and the ideas will start to flow like wildfire. Create the space where the armor can come off. Have a great idea you've never shared before? Share it. Thinking of taking things in a different direction? Say it. You never know where it might lead. Who knows? Like Shrek, or me, you might just get your happy ever after. Thank you.